Howdy, 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 everybody, and welcome to the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship here at Okayama International Circuit. I'm Austin. I am joined by Peter McKay with Kevin Galvin in the commentary box, and we got Marco Barbonera in the production booth here in this lovely afternoon in Okayama, Japan. Peter, Kevin, welcome to the booth. How are y'all feeling about this race?
Very good. I suppose I'll take it first, considering I'm brand new here. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to this one. Obviously, look, Tim Delisle is absolutely smashing it. I think we all know that. But look, this circuit is something that a lot of the racers don't know a huge amount about. So it'll be interesting to see how they take it on today.
Yeah, well, it's an absolute pleasure to be here, and I feel honoured to be part of the broadcast team for Kevin Galvin's debut here on Apex Racing TV. So looking forward to this one. And although this Okayama circuit is relatively unknown nowadays, it does have an interesting heritage. And in fact, it was the last circuit that Ayrton Senna raced at before he passed away at Imola. So it actually held two Formula One Grand Prix when it used to be called the Ada circuit, but of course changed to Okayama later on. But looking forward to this race. This car is a notoriously difficult machine to master, but with the quality of drivers we've got on show, we're going to see them mastering around the sweeps and turns of Okayama.
Yeah, speaking of difficulty to master, the car has received a big update over the weekend on Tuesday, and that brought the quality of life of driving this beast of a car a bit better, a bit easier to handle, a bit less snap your head at any small mistake, but now it's kind of easier and more predictable to handle. It still will throw you out under here. It's still a pretty tricky beast, and Okayama is a wonderful track to have it. This track has everything: fast speed corners, slow speed corners, tight hairpins, long straights to stretch out the legs, and that very beautiful Renault engine down the straights, and then got the aero grip in this very medium speed section to be right on board with Christopher Hermano. This section is probably my favorite section of any racetrack. Just switchback hairpins. It's so fun and so beautiful.
It certainly is. It's a lovely circuit to drive here at Okayama, one of these classic Japanese circuits. And it looks like we're going to have our grid. And I think, why don't we hand over the honour to read the grid to our new recruit, Kevin Galvin.
So starting the grid, I suppose there's absolutely no surprise, as per usual. Tim Delisle, 8 starts, 8 wins, 8 poles. There's, what more could you say about him? Joined by a fellow Aussie on the front row, Greg Olson, positive sim racing teammates. He'll be delighted to lock out the front row. Suelio Almeida from Brazil is third. He's 0.26 seconds behind. He's actually not featured in the top 28 here. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. Jorge Lopez from Kuruma Motorsport is up in 4th place. Then we have Paul Ilbrink, of course, second in the championship, had that big accident in the opening lap of at Gilles Villeneuve last week. So it'll be interesting to see how he gets on. He'll be looking for redemption there, starting at the 3rd row of the grid. Daniel Campos is in 6th. Then we have 7th, Edward Samborski. He's 3rd at the moment, the New York native, followed by Emil Bernstoff. And then we have Jorge Barrio, Simon Pitica, Theodore Burns, and Alex Millward to top off the front first 12. Then 13th, we have Jamie Hull, then Christian Ortalara, Omar Baha, who is another man who had retired in that race last week. Currently, where on my list? He's currently, I'm looking for him on my list, and I can't seem to find him. He's currently 14th in the championship. Then Philip Lake, Luke Groom, and Christophe Herbergenot to find off the top 18.
Now the cars are all lined up and ready to go out here at Okayama, just waiting for a few outliers before our lights are about to come on and get ready to go. I believe we're just waiting for Paul Ilbrink right now. Peter, a little bit of rundown of last race.
Well, I remember the last one we called was at Laguna Seca. And here comes the start, Austin.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, the heartbeats are rising and so are the reds as the 5 red lights are going on, and we're going racing here in Okayama for the iRacing Formula 3.5 Challenge.
So they all pile down into turn 1. You can hear the V8 engines, 3.4 litre V8 engines screaming like Formula 1 cars of old. And it's Delisle and Olsen, the two teammates, who get away clean. And Delisle, he is absolutely, well, he's saying bye-bye, Delisle. He is off and already opening up a 3 or 4 car length gap there. And big contact.
Oh, no!
Gets a help into the gravel trap there.
Oh my goodness, big collision. Baja's in there, Samborski's around, Theodore Burns around. Someone it is, I believe Paul Ilbrich was stuck behind, that's Pizzica who was turned around. Just massive incident. These cars are all torn up right now. That hairpin on lap 1 is so dangerous. We got a big lockup right there for Barrio. And around goes Herbino. And Samborski's just stuck there. And he gets... Oh, that is just unlucky.
Yeah, absolute chaos. Exactly what you'd expect from these ones, especially in such a tight circuit as we see the opening lap there, taking it from Philip's sake point of view.
It was a very bad start for Lake. And you can already see lap 1, Groom gets tapped in the back by Lake, and Lake got into his teammate. And then later on in that opening sector, Paul Ilbrich charged around the outside of Theodore Burns. Car locked up onto his inside. He got pushed out wide, and then chaos just erupted. This looks like a normal rookie race in the Mazdas, but just upped the speed by 500%. My goodness.
Yeah, Paul Ilbrich must be thinking to himself, where can I get a break? Because, you know, it's hard enough pushing Tim Delisle, a guy who's won the last 3 seasons of Formula, the iRacing Formula 3.5 Championship. And, you know, now he's 2 accidents in the first laps, on the opening laps of the last 2 races. You must be wondering, for Ilbrich, the Groningen, the 38-year-old, he must be wondering, where can I get a break?
I'm wondering who wasn't involved in that incident. Currently, I think it's Delisle, Olsen, Amita, and maybe Lopez were the only cars that weren't involved. Burnsoff and Burns kind of close in there, but I definitely saw Millward, Campos, Lake, Otario, Groom, Ilbrich, Hall, Barrio all involved in there. Look at the names we have in the pits: Samborski, Pizzica, Baja, and Herbino. Those cars that were involved in that crash were just absolutely front runners and challengers for a great top 5 race. But now it's 1, 2, 3, Delisle, Olsen, Amita here at the front.
Yeah, Almeida, he'll be happy. He's been able to tuck in behind Delisle and Olsen, so he's kind of made a breakaway with the leading pack, so good start for him. Also, watch for Alex Millward in 7th position right now. He's a regular front runner in the Lotus 79 series, which runs on Sundays, and yeah, he drives the old Williams from the old 1980s livery on his car. So watch him. He's a very good single-seater driver, and yeah, he's currently sitting in 7th spot.
I do say that livery is amazing.
It is indeed. It makes you want to fly Saudi airline.
Behind them, Campos and Lake going side by side, heading into the hairpin with them. But Campos stayed ahead of that battle. Back up front, Delisle, Olsen, Amita, Kevin.
Yeah, I mean, look, Olsen has a serious amount of work in front of him if you look at Tim Delisle's record, but he's sticking with him for the moment. Those 3 guys would be absolutely delighted to avoid the carnage behind them, and a really nice shot looking from behind Olsen's car. And you just see, you know, I know the guys are talking about the speed around this tight circuit, but it just goes to show you the kind of speeds that these cars can get up to. It is really the closest thing we have to Formula 1 racing in iRacing, and just the sound of these machines is absolutely fantastic. Look, it's going to be a really, really interesting battle. These guys need to do everything they can to try and keep that gap, and I suppose Almeida already falling behind Olsen there, making a slight mistake. So these guys are just already happy. You see the gap there between Lopez and Bernstroff, even 5 seconds, and you know that's the top 4 straight away, kind of marking themselves out. But for Tim Delisle, it's just a case of doing what he does best, keeping it clean, and for him, he'd be delighted that there's so much carnage behind him.
Yeah, and well, these front 3, they're pulling away from the rest of the field, but somebody's catching up to him. That's the car in 4th. Lopez Exposito, he's put in the fastest lap, 2 laps in a row. And back here, Otariola and Lake side by side through the hairpin. A little bit of contact and pushed wide as Lake. And Luke Groom licking his lips at this. Ooh, I thought Lake was going to get a little bit of revenge right there.
Yeah, there's been some really, really fierce racing. It's almost like watching go-karting rather than Formula 3.5. It's absolutely extraordinary stuff here at Okayama. And so I was looking earlier, some of the corner names here at Okayama are fantastic. We've got the Moss S's, you've got Williams, and then we're coming up to this final corner here, and it is called, I kid you not, Last Corner.
Last Corner is the best name in any racetrack.
That's what it says on the tin.
I was just
Rivals turn 1.
You got Last Corner. What's the name of the last corner? Last corner. What's the name of the first corner? First corner. It's like, Japanese just don't mess around with their corner names, as we see Paul Ilbrink coming around there now in a replay, but went slightly wide there.
Paul is not having a good day. He's involved at lap 1 incident. He's got front wing damage. He just wants to lay down in bed and just finish this race. And he's gone into the pits. I think that's his day right now.
He has not been a Flying Dutchman today, unfortunately. That's a shame for Ilbrink. Of course, just so easy with such a big packed field, 18 cars. And Okayama, it's just got some of these really tight braking zones where you see the drivers and of course in these single-seater cars, just the tiniest tangle of a wheel, and it can just be your day over straight away.
And you wonder, with that move that Ilbrink made around the outside, last night he was racing in the Indy 2000 at Spa, finished 6th in that. So maybe it was just a case of him maybe kind of thinking he had a bit more grip than otherwise, maybe kind of not really driving to the conditions.
Yeah. If you get used to driving other cars, and it's pretty similar in there. I know I get a lot of this from driving a lot of GT4s and GT3s. I'll sometimes take what I want, what I learn in GT4s and apply it to GT3s, but it doesn't work as well as you think, lower downforce, and I did it in lower downforce and higher downforce. But remember, you got other cars with higher downforce. They can't defend the same way as you're attacking in these different cars. So you're going to have to adjust your strategy with each car, and probably just a little lapse in judgment right there, but absolutely nothing wrong on his part. It was the car on his inside that just locked up going into there.
Yeah, Ilbrink had given a lot of room, like I say, just one of those racing incidents. It must be so frustrating for a driver when you know you've done everything right and just sometimes it's just not your day. But he will live to fight another day, and he's been a front runner before, and he certainly will be again. And of course, good point you make about the setup, Austin, because these cars have got so much adjustability on them. They're proper thoroughbred racing cars. So trying to get that balance of how much downforce trim do you go for, how much do you not, and if you get it wrong, it can just completely castrate your chances in the race.
Yeah, setup in these Formula 3.5 cars, I was talking to Tim DeLau on how he usually sets them up. He's been saying most of these cars on most of the tracks, they've been running a higher downforce since it's high-speed corners most of the time. But Okayama, you have a fair big mix of lower-speed corners than high-speed corners, so I won't be surprised if someone is going for a medium setup or maybe even a low setup as they try to do around Spa sometimes.
Yeah, you look at Simone Pizzica still in the pit, 107 seconds ticking away, and if you look 2 laps behind in terms of the leader, like such a disappointment for him. He's currently 9th in the championship, 710 points, and still without a win or a pole in the 14 starts thus far. It must be really, really frustrating for all these guys. There's nothing worse, and I'm sure you guys both know it, that seeing that timer tick away. It ticks away so slowly, and all you can hear is the sound of those V8 engines screaming past you lap by lap.
It's just a devastating feel, and you hate it. You think about what you could have done differently to avoid said incident, and if you just were caught in nowhere, you're just like, why me?
I have to say, guys, it's brilliant to have these cars on the iRacing service. There's been a number of cars that have kind of been frozen in time here on iRacing. Things like, I always think of the Z4 GT3 car, the BMW, a car that's not really competed with anymore in the real world, but lives on in iRacing. And this car is exactly the same. You know, the final World Series by Renault, which this car was used for, stopped in 2017. But some of the winners, it's a real who's who of the Formula One grid. You know, the final champion was Pietro Fittipaldi. Carlos Sainz has won it, Kevin Magnussen, Robert Wickens, and actually the first Formula 3.5 champion was the very, very own Robert Kubica.
Yeah, Formula 3.5 program has brought a lot of great drivers. I know Chembala Bassi for F1 esports driver, and keep forgetting who, I think for Red Bull. He just got his first pole position today, actually. and he raced in I believe in one of the final 2 races for the Formula 3.5 championship around the Hockenheim ring. Speaking of the Hockenheim ring, that has started in production for the iRacing service.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
but
absolutely
what
great.
about Long Beach?
Yeah, really looking forward to having that in the service. And Peter, you were saying about those cars frozen in time in terms of the Formula Renault, the 3.5 we're racing now. But I think it's really interesting to see how open the service are in terms of that production. We were talking about how these cars have been, updated this week. But what's really interesting about this update is that it's come from the drivers themselves. Many of the guys you see racing here right now are actively contributing to the development of these cars in the game. And I think it could be really interesting to see how this could shape the way going forward as we see a really interesting battle between second and third developing.
Yeah, Greg Olson is taking a lot of defensive lines from the charging Almeida, who's just driving the normal line, and Olson is just compromising himself. And we're going to see a difference of strategy going into these switchback hairpins up in Sector 3 as they approach the final 2 corners. Watch how Olson takes his final line. He's going to leave it out wide and snap it back into there and kind of hop on the curb to get a good boost down that straight. But just the draft that Almeida's getting is going to make him very dangerous heading into turn 1.
Tell you, Olsen, he might be compromising himself. The one person he's not compromising is his teammate Delisle, who will be delighted. Looking in the mirror, he'll be saying, "Thank you very much, my esteemed teammate," because all the while Almeida's clearly got pace under that car, and Olsen is doing a great job of keeping him behind. And of course, that's kind of slowing everything up, and that's allowing a kind of buffer for Delisle to just clear off in the distance.
And I'd say another man delighted is the man at the other end of that train, which is Jorge Lopez. He's just saying, leave the two of them at it. And, two of them make a mistake. We saw what happened even in F1 itself with Lando Norris capitalizing on Ricardo and Perez's incident. So I'd say Jorge Lopez is quite nicely now sitting back behind, getting in the tow and seeing if something can develop between these two, if he can pick up 2 easy places.
Lopez being the fastest car on track, he certainly has nothing to lose from a top podium spot or even that second place spot. And all you really have to do around here at Okayama as you're 1/3 of the way through here is just make it to the end, because it's definitely common that lap traffic will play a part in this race.
Yeah, there's still some time to go. I was looking at some of these guys were racing even recently yesterday in the same circuit. Tim Delisle was set a fastest lap of 1:16.8. So there's still quite a bit to be left out on this track. That's 1:17.2. So still about 0.4 of a second that these guys can gain here. It'll be interesting to see as we get through the laps and the track temperature begins to warm up. Will these guys start picking up some more lap time?
Replay of Jamie Hall and that very interesting split livery design. Oh, a little bit of the grass. Oh no.
Oh no, indeed. Well, it reminds me of the old BAR, the British American Racing Lucky Strike and 555 cigarette machine. That's quite cool there. But that just shows you he made the smallest of mistake. Is Alex Millward looking to move up right now, and he makes the move. Oh, he's getting past. Actually, my apologies. That's Campos going past Millward there. Millward looking like I almost says 7-Up on it, and the side of it looks more like M&M's. Very cool there. But yeah, that mistake there was minute and just 1 tiny millimeter over the edge there from Hall, and you pay the ultimate price.
Ooh, Lake trying a very dangerous line going into the double left-handers as Luke Groom swung it around the outside using that fresh wing against that very broken wing that Lake has. See, he's been into another instead. That front left wing's just bent up. That's going to be hurting him a lot.
And it's even just the slightest thing. I mean, I know you were talking earlier about, Austin, about racing GT4s and GT3s, and some aero damage, some body damage you can get away with, but on these cars, just the slightest bit of front ring damage, and you're just losing time hand over fist.
Yeah, absolutely. You don't want to be driving a damaged single-seater around. Not only is it a hindrance to you, but it's also a hindrance to the cars around you, because the risk of a broken car just understeering, getting into your side, especially if you're lapping them, it and turning a good race into a bad race is absolutely horrible. And if you're driving with a damaged car, it's very risky. Look at this risky move. Almeida looking down the inside up onto the exit of Olsen. He just left that door open, and that's just how hungry Cirillo is.
Well, you talk about the blown diffusers in Formula One. Well, I can imagine the the exhaust fumes coming out of Olsen's Renault 3.5 would have been blowing on the front wing of Almeida there. That was really close for comfort. And if you're Almeida, you look at the body language of Almeida's car. You can tell now he's had enough. He has had enough. He's just like, get everything. Oh, we got it. That's our producer, Marco Barbonero, on the bottom left there. I wonder what you were laughing at. But Almeida, yeah, you can see he's gone from being pretty calm in that car, but now you can just see him kind of weaving around. It looks like he's going to be able to make a move into the hairpin corner here.
That was a late defensive move. Almeida around the outside. He's going for that switchback. He's got the switchback engaged side by side. He can swing it around the outside right here and squeeze Olsen right there. He does squeeze him. Almeida around the outside and up into second place. And Exposito is watching this battle heat up and ignite into a fire. I think he's about to inherit a beautiful... Oh, that is Campos. Campos off of the gravel trap.
So he's going to kind of come up against Alex Millward here. Or he's got Alex Millward behind him. He's dropped him big time. Oh, a little bit of grass on the brakes. Oh, I remember Rubens Barrichello doing that in quite dramatic fashion when he used to race for Williams. Yeah, just the tiniest spot of wheel on the grass and woof, round you go.
It's so easy to do coming into corner. You need to use every single inch, and just there, Campos just getting it slightly wrong. But just going back to that really interesting battle between Almeida and Olsen. Absolutely fantastic battling between the two of them. But just a really good racecraft from Almeida there. Decided to go for the late move, and then got the cut back. Just kept Olsen guessing all the way through the corner, and then made it stick around the outside. Really good stuff there.
You see the shot of the wing as the car is activating DRS. If you can see through the wing, DRS is not activated. If you can't see through the wing and that little small slit at the bottom of it, DRS is activated, and it works just like in DRS in real life. It's just the iRacing budget for animation just didn't want to include that.
And I think amongst all that, sorry, Peter, I think in amongst all that madness between the cars, am I right in saying that Tim Delisle had picked up a fastest lap along that way? I thought I saw purple for Delisle in amongst that going back, and 117.2 just being shown up there, 1.17.1 now. So getting closer and closer to that 16.8 we saw with himself yesterday.
Oh no, he hasn't.
No, he's still 3/10, well, just short of 3/10 off, but he's getting closer and closer. You can just see that gap is absolutely enormous now behind the Australian. He must be very pleased with himself.
Yeah, Delisle is very comfortable with having gaps behind him that are just massive. I can recall Canada last round. We won it by 18, almost 20 seconds ahead of the rest of the field. But then again, the rest of the field was stuck behind a giant blockade coming out of turns 3 and 4. So 2 weeks in a row, we've had crazy lap 1 incidents.
Yeah, Delisle's done it on merit this time for sure. 3.2 seconds of just stretching that gap all the time. But he's also been given a big favour by his teammate Olsen, who really slowed down Almeida for a number of laps. And but that certainly gave him the buffer to be able to get out there and push at the front. So that's been interesting to watch that. Now here at Okayama, the track temperature can get very high, but it's not too bad today. Just 32 degrees centigrade track temperature, seen a lot higher than that. So the course, basically towards the end of the race, the track should be coming to the drivers, and we're seeing a few purple times coming in right now. So that 1 minute 16.8 might be in the lookout.
Yeah, 1 minute 16 is definitely in the lookout as we just passed the halfway mark. And Almeida, 17:04. He's pulling away from the battling Olsen and Lopez now, and he's definitely on a charge to close in on Delisle. He's just poked his head under the 3-second gap, and Delisle just extending the track as much as they can. We just saw his little marker turn red just at it. And I just think yep, there are tire tracks in that gravel. I think Delisle's extending the track as much as he can to try to pull away from charging Almeida.
I think Tim, no matter how well he drives, he's not going to get anywhere near the lap record here, which is a 1:14.023 set by the great Michael Schumacher, who is kind of like Formula One's answer to Tim Delisle over the noughties. I was at a Bennett in 1994. So yeah, if you're looking for the absolute limit, then 1:14 for the Formula One cars. But still, we're getting closer and closer to that 1:16.8 we've seen set around recently around here.
The difference with these cars, though, is that these cars don't have traction control, which, of course, the Benetton at the time was rumoured to have traction control, even though it wasn't allowed at the time. Daniel Campos has another off track, and is he going to get in the wall there? Oh dear! But yes, Michael Schumacher. There was only ever 2 Formula One Grand Prix at this circuit,
I think he's been disqualified.
Oh dear!
Yeah, he just disappeared. I think Campos just got disqualified from that.
Incident points.
Maybe. Oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, there's the only two Formula One Grand Prix ever held here, both won by Michael Schumacher as well. And this track, when it was opened, it was actually opened as a kind of leisure resort for petrol heads in Japan who could come and use their cars. It's kind of like what VIR reopened for, but it was actually a guy who owned most of the golf courses in Japan and sold most of them to build his own racetrack.
It's definitely the location of a golf course, I can tell you there. Okayama might be named Okayama, but it's about 2 hours away, actually, from Okayama.
Yeah, Mimasaka is where it is. 28,502 people. Must be one of the smallest towns to have its own racetrack. And as Peter was saying, it was only held here for 2 years. And the main reason for that was public access. The only way getting in and out of here was kind of this windy country road up a mountain. And it was the first ever Formula One, all public transport Formula One. We see that quite a lot now. Spectators and drivers and teams ferried in by bus, and obviously at the moment we're seeing plenty of that as well. But yeah, it was the first ever public transport only event. But just the queues trying to get up that road and back down meant that really it was never going to have a very, very long life. It's held a lot of other things in its time. A very interesting story actually about its last World Tour car race in 2010. The final result wasn't actually confirmed at the track until 2 weeks later because of an appeal by Chevrolet against the use of a sequential gearbox by BMW Team RBM, who won that race. And eventually BMW Team RBM were disqualified from the race and had the points taken off them 2 weeks after the event was taking place.
Yeah, as you were saying about it being a very difficult to access, kind of reminds us of a certain Circuit Paul Ricard, which I remember in its opening year back in F1 was just plagued with huge traffic problems, and people were still arriving at the track halfway through the race.
I won't have a bad word said about Paul Ricard because I used to live near there and used to wish that I could see cars driving around there again. So I'm just glad that France has a Grand Prix back, although I know that a lot of people would prefer to see it maybe perhaps somewhere else. But I'm delighted that France, so many great drivers coming from there. Even currently, we have Romain Grosjean, we have Pierre Gasly, in that championship. So, it would be such a shame for France to miss out on its own round.
Yeah, France definitely deserves a Grand Prix track in the World Championship. Just like America.
Just have it at Le Mans. That would be good. Imagine the drafting battle, the DRS down the Mulsanne Straight. That would be pretty cool. Just saying.
I'm pretty sure that will be a FIA violations, and well, if it was last year, Ferrari be nodding their heads, be like yes, yes, yes. This year they'd probably just be saying no, no, no.
Once we don't have any more cars taking off, like we saw Le Mans during those famous scenes.
Yeah, Mark Webber isn't driving a Red Bull anymore, so I think the grid's safe of that.
Oh, we've done it. There you go. Ring the bell. 1:16.8 for Almeida. Fantastic. I don't know what it is. I get such a kick out of if there's a lap time to go for, and it puts a smile on your face when you see a driver hit it. So as the fuel load is coming off, well, the speed is climbing, and for Delisle, that gap is starting to erode ever so slightly.
Yeah, that is a scary thing to find out. The car behind you has done a faster lap, and he is consistently faster than you. That at that point, you have two things to do. A, put your head down, drive your own race, or B, start driving with your mirror and prepare to buckle your seatbelts for a insane battle. And both of those things, I know if you put your head down and do your own race, you'll have that consistent pace, but he will blow past you and you will not be expecting it. But if you're consistently preparing for a battle, oh my goodness, it's going to be a electric last 10 laps here at Okayama.
In fairness to Tim Delisle, he's had 48 poles and 50 wins in 2020 alone. So 192 wins and 424 starts in his iRacing career. So I think he's pretty used to these situations. I feel if there's any man that's going to have the mentality and the experience to fend off Almeida in this situation, Tim Delisle's the man.
Well, usually Tim is clear of any competition at this point, so might be a bit rusty in end of the race shenanigans. But I do remember Tim in hand-to-hand combat, as some might say, at around Spa. He can get his elbows out as much as he wants, but he likes to play the long game more than the short game.
Yeah, he's not going to want to pull over if Almeida is able to catch him, which is certainly a big ask with just 9 laps to go, especially with the short lap we have here at Okayama. But you know that if Almeida did catch him, he's not going to want to give away that lead that he's commanded throughout the whole race. And I have to say, I think that's got to be one of the highest start to win ratios I think I've ever heard of any driver in iRacing.
It's next to 1,000.
Win percentage, if you want a win percentage, it's 45 just over 45% of the races he's started, and he's led over 51%, almost 52% of the laps he's raced in iRacing. He's been at the front.
You know, that's win percentage sounds very familiar to a certain Argentinian driver whose name is completely escaping my mind as, big lockup by Mario.
That battle's been going on for a while between those two, and Lake's leading it at the moment. We've seen him put in a couple of interesting moves, as we say, in that kind of really unique livery in front of Barrio. But that should be one really to watch. We have only 8 laps left to go, and you can see Barrio really getting up the backside of Lake, making sure that he sees them all over his mirrors. And be interesting to see if Lake himself can hold on to this. And that's a touch. It was going to happen.
Oh no, he's dumped him into the wall, goes Lake.
I think Barrio was he was actually coming in quite hot, and it looked like he was carrying a bit too much speed there into last corner. And it's the last corner of the race for Philip Lake, because he's been unceremoniously. Look at the closing speed here. Not good.
Yeah, that's just you just don't want to see that, especially in the last corner. It's so easy to get into contact, and Tim Delisle.
There you go.
Shades of Juan Manuel Fangio. 1:16.7, and now he's pulled Suelo back over that 3-second gap, and Fangio with that 45% win ratio in F1 or greater.
But he's coming up to Phil Lake now. Oh, it's okay. He's going to pass him on the outside. I was worried with Lake's damage if they were trying to go into that corner with sensible driving. And it's a pity for Lake. It's probably just as well we don't have access to the all teams voice chat and that, because I imagine
it's probably a good thing we don't have access to that because we would be removed off YouTube.
Exactly. Yeah, I feel like we'd be giving Mark a lot of work here with the old swear filter. So I imagine Chris Lake's not a very happy man, and when he looks back in this replay, I imagine he'll have quite a fair few grievances about how that incident played out.
He certainly will, and I think if you ever want to see people who might miss watching the Jerry Springer show, I tell you what, most of the time the in-race chat on iRacing makes Jerry Springer show look like your nana's tea party.
Oh yeah, the things I've seen on iRacing is much wilder than a middle schooler's recess.
To be fair, I can't say much. I had, as we see Paul Ilbrink going around here, and the replay coming into that was in the Mike Knight corner going wide. Oh, what a great save though by Ilbrink. brilliant save. Got very heavy contact. Be interested to see whether he has underfloor damage from that, but it managed to rescue the car there. That would definitely, if that was me, that would be into the far wall and the end of the race.
Yeah, that wheel clip over that curb is so tricky. But one good thing about that final two corners is the gravel trap is on a hill, so you're kind of being pushed back into the track. So he was a little bit assisted right there, but it was still a amazing save. And these drivers, 13 cars were made, 11 on the lead lap, and still in a 5.0K strength of field, we're having just amazing performances throughout the race, and especially some amazing battles as Barrio and Groom are nose to gearbox right now for 9th.
Yeah, for Groom here, if he's well, he'll be unaware, of course, of Barrio's recent conduct, but Barrio is definitely on the charge here. Groom goes to the inside line, goes defensive. You see the little flap stop on the DRS on the rear wing, and Barrio goes round the outside. This is going to be tight. Oh, is he going to make it stick? He'll go for the switch. Get the inside again, and Groom very, very wisely goes, do you know what? Oh, you can have it, pal. I'll just tuck in behind you, and maybe you make a mistake, but sometimes it's better just to roll over.
Yeah, you don't want to. If you're side by side late in the race and you've had a contact-filled race, a top 10 will just be like, you know what? I'm happy with that. I don't want to risk any lower. So sometimes racing is a checks and balances games. And Luke Vroom, he started 17th. He's already up 7 spots. He's currently the biggest mover. And oh no. Well, I've jinxed him.
I don't know if you can commentators curse somebody after they've done what you've done. You were supposed to curse them at. I don't think I've ever seen that before. It's like a
well, you obviously haven't seen me live tweet a F1 race.
He maybe gets a bit of aero wash from the car in front, actually, I think. It sounded a little bit of understeer there coming into the final corner. So, what a pity. And as usual, the Austinite commentator curse more infectious than COVID-19.
Once we don't get delisted now for YouTube demonetizing for any mention of COVID-19. That's a 117.5 put up there now. I mean, the times are going through the floor here from the drivers, and with 4 laps to go, still some really close battling. Olsen and Lopez again for 3rd and 4th, and you really, really want that podium. Olsen was started in 2nd and dropped back slightly, so he'll be hoping to keep 2. The positive sim racing crowd will want 2 of the 3 podium steps, but Lopez is pushing him really, really hard here, trying to push himself up. He's in 6th at the moment, the Cantabria native, 822 points. So another good showing for him here. Another podium would push him up further, up towards the likes of Fabio De Carmo and James Pinsker in the 4th and 5th positions.
Yeah, Esposito, he's been hunting him, and stop to the side. That's Philip Lake. And he's just been having a rough day. Damage involved in that opening lap incident. And this is just a curb acceleration gone wrong. Boom into the wall.
And it's interesting actually seeing Phillips. That's one of the things that we've been kind of hearing from drivers in terms of one of the complaints and one of the feedback that they've been giving to iRacing is that snap oversteer on exit, particularly even with the high aero load. Now, the cars, as we said, have been updated this week, so we'll see how much of an impact that's made, but it'll be interesting to talk to the drivers after the race to see what their impressions are on the car and whether they feel like that feedback has been taken into account and that they're easier to drive now.
Well, they've been so used for the past 3 seasons to how this car handles on the new tire model. It's a bit twitchy. It's a bit hard to handle. A sudden change is going to... Yeah, sure, it's a quality of life change, but a sudden change like that is still going to take a while to adjust to because they're so used to being so fine with the controls of this car. And now that you know that you can push it, they're going to get a little bit overzealous and start pushing a little bit harder and harder. I can tell you from moving out from a car with absolutely no aero from a Skip Farmer to a USF 2000 car, those things go from 0 and you're like, hey, I have grip, and next thing you know, you're facing the wrong way and you're stuck in the grass at Circuit of the Americas.
you've done something wrong if you end up in the grass there. They've got so much tarmac runoff. That's it, the Circuit of Americas. Well,
There's a patch of grass. I can tell you where it is.
Barrio.
Oh,
Number
Barrio.
5 machine there. Oh dear, Barrio just he was on the charge. He really was charging hard, a little bit too hard in some places, but I think he's been able to just get back going again. Let's see what happens here. Probably a lock up. Oh, great work there from Marco, showing us the wheels just hard on the binders. Just edges the grass, and that just unsettles the car. And
it just didn't want to stop right there. No lockup, anything. It's just looked like the brakes just failed him.
A very, very similar incident to the one we saw earlier. Obviously, the camber on that corner is so important. If you don't get yourself inside that camber to get around, then the car's going to run wide. And we've seen a couple of guys fall victim to it. And it is a question as well. 38 minutes now into this race, approaching the final 2 laps. It's really hard to keep that concentration all the way through. And even the slightest mistake in these cars, and you are toast.
Yeah, it's amazing just how when you think, not in a lot of cars, you get a kind of oversteer moment. You think, I can catch that, no problem. Here, just before you've gone, you're in the wall. It just rips your head off straight away. And that's why that's the thing I love about commentating on sim racing and watching sim racing, is because as a fan, you can go on to your iRacing simulator, load up this car and this track, and you can get a very good impression to just how impressive these guys are and how talented they are. And that's something you just can't do in the real world. You can't go and jump into, Lewis Hamilton's Formula One car, for example. It'll remain in your imagination. But here on iRacing, you can get that direct comparison straight away.
I'm gonna be honest. If you had access to Lewis Hamilton's drive, I'm pretty sure you would be afraid to drive it, because those things are like fire-breathing dragons, and the repair bill on a F1 car is probably more expensive than my life insurance.
I'd say if you're in a position to jump in Lewis Hamilton's Formula One car whenever you like, then I imagine the repair bill probably isn't an issue for you. Yeah, we're approaching the final lap now, and that's that really interesting battle developing between third and fourth. We just got off it as Tim crosses the start-finish line for the last time, but a really, really interesting battle for all over the circuits. Those got Groom and Ilbrink behind, and I know Paul Ilbrink would be really, really disappointed to be not actually chasing the man who's in front of him. It must have been tough for him to see Tim Delisle lap him, because the two of those have been quite close to the championship thus far. And another race for Paul Ilbrink just thinks, if I could have just avoided trouble on the first lap, I might have had a chance.
Oh yeah, Paul Ilbrink is just caught out unlucky as Luke Groom. DRS open, Ilbrink looking down to the inside, side by side, drag racing here in Okayama, heading into the hairpin. Late on the brakes goes Ilbrink. He sends it up in there, but Groom getting pushed out wide by Ilbrink, using all the track. Ilbrink getting the elbows out and jumping up into 10th place. Now back behind him is Olsen and Lopez in this battle for third. Very, very well held by Olsen ahead of him going into that hairpin, but all eyes are on Tim Delisle. He gets a big whiff of oversteer with 3 corners to go, 2 corners to go, 1 corner through, last corner he is, and taking 2-3, another victory in the road to the impressive career list. Tim Delisle wins in Okayama.
Yeah, that's 9 starts, 9 poles, 9 wins from Tim Delisle. But I'd say he's keeping his heart going there with that little moment at the end.
Yeah, I wondered if that was induced on purpose, because if it wasn't, that would have been, oh my goodness, that must have been a scary one, because that could have been, as we were talking about, that could have been race over in the final sector. But I tell you what, you've got to take your hat off to Ilbrink to get the car back into the top 10 after being backwards into the wall on lap 1. You got actually really impressed that he's been able to get that car back up into the top 10. And Alex Millward in the number 9 7-Up machine doing a great job as well, coming home in 7th.
Yeah, Theodore Burns was one of those cars involved in the opening lap incident as well. 6th place. Great job by him.
I think that just goes to show you how many of them were involved in that opening lap incident. There was just so many of them in that incident.
I think about 4 cars weren't involved in there.
It goes to show you, though, the opportunities that are there. Even if you do have an incident on the opening lap, there's always opportunities to make places back once you reasonably manage to keep it out of the wall. There's real good opportunities to make up places.
Well, after a absolutely, I think we could call that race bonkers um, especially the starting lap. Okayama always proves to be a very interesting track and a very big old wrench in the calendar, and just always providing a very interesting race for everyone here in the Formula 3.5 Challenge Series. As Peter is going to read us through the results.
Well, I will indeed. Tim Delisle, then, your winner in the number one positive sim racing machine, winning by 4.6 seconds from Suella Almeida. Rounding out the podium was Greg Olson, doing his teammate a big favour, keeping Almeida at bay for the first part of the race. Jorge Lopez came in fourth place, ahead of the fifth place man, Emil Bernstoff. Sixth was Theodore Burns, alongside the Briton, Alex Millward. In eighth was Christian Ottarola, and ninth was Jorge Barrio. 10th was Paul Ilbrink, the Dutchman, recovering after that lap 1 incident. 11th was Luke Groom. 12th, Omar Baja. 13th was Philip Lake. 14th, Daniel Campos. 15th was Jamie Hall with Simone Pazica. In 16th, Edward Samborski. In 17th, and Christophe Herbigno in 18th.
Yeah, Urbano was very mad and showed his displeasure on another race, getting just absolutely torched over on lap 1. 3 races, and he's made 3 corners in all the last 3 races, and so I really feel for Christopher. He's been having the luck just absolutely taken away from him, and not only him, a lot of drivers have been unlucky in these last few races. Kevin, since it's your first day on the job, as I would say, can you run down that race for us?
Yeah, it was an easy one, wasn't it? Really nice, easy break-in for me. Just absolute chaos on turn 4. Look, it's like what we've seen from start to finish in this championship, from start to finish in the race. What more needs to be said about Tim Delisle? Just an absolutely incredible, as we were saying, through some of his stats, just an absolutely incredible performer. I feel really bad for Paul Ilbrink, as we say. Tried that move around the outside, and it was just that lack of grip on the inside caused that contact and really put him out of the race. But as Peter said, really a great job from him to finish 10th. A really good day again for the Positive Sim Racing team. 2 places on the podium. I got Campos there as well. So it's a good day for them, and I think for a lot of guys, an opportunity lost really with all that chaos at the start. There was a couple of cars, 3 or 4 cars broke away, and from that point really kind of became almost a race, 2 mini races within a race with the guys up front, and then we had the guys behind who were caught up in that madness, all scrapping for position. A couple of interesting moves between some of the competitors, and some of the guys just had really bad luck. But overall, I think fair to say a very, very entertaining race at Okayama. And nice to come back here and to race here again. And it was good to see the guys who don't really race on the circuit very often have a chance to try something different.
It absolutely was. And we have our race winner standing by with Peter. And ladies and gentlemen, Tim Delisle.
Tim Delisle, congratulations on an absolutely flawless drive. Tell us about what it was like from your chair.
Thanks. It was. I was really anxious coming into this because we've had a big update to the car and it feels pretty different. So I didn't know where I was going to be relative to everyone else, and I knew we had a boost in popularity. Lots of fast guys coming over from other open wheel cars to give it a try. So I was really nervous going in. Qualifying, I on my second lap I lost a 10th in the second last corner just because I was physically shaking, just really nervous. So just really happy to be able to get the pole and take it from there.
Well, that gives some of us some hope, because there was no sign of nerves from our voice, from our view in the commentary box, driving off from the front. Now, you mentioned the iRacing update to this car. This car has a bit of a widowmaker reputation. It can be quite snappy, but tell us about, from your perspective, what changes have been made to the character of the car and how you've adapted to them.
Basically, we had a problem with overall grip, but also just an issue with the tires where it felt like they had this flash overheating problem where if you got anything just a little bit wrong, the surface of the tire basically turned into lava, and you'd really struggle for grip. So like you'd make a slight mistake out of one corner, like minor correction, and then the next three corners you'd be all over the place. So that has been corrected. And it just feels more intuitive to drive. Before, you'd still drive by feel, but it was like the limit was nowhere near where it should be. So it was a lot easier to get caught out. Whereas now, um, in my opinion at least, like I've never driven a real race car, but it feels like I imagine it should. So yeah, massive thanks to the iRacing developers for the update, and yeah, the car feels great now. So I'm hoping we'll see some renewed popularity in the series.
Well, that's very, very kind to say. Now, before we let you go to go and enjoy your win, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to live here on Apex Racing TV?
Yeah, the team, Positive Sim Racing, at the start of the week. I mean, the patch only came Friday morning my time or Thursday night, but yeah, like I was really struggling early in the week, and my teammate Lubomir came up with a setup that just felt so much better. And you know, you only have to make slight modifications with the new tires now. So yeah, big thanks to him. Well done to Greg, who's been out for a long time. I think you guys are going to talk to him as well, so he can tell you all about his fun. But yeah, congrats to him. And Swelio finishing P2. I was a little bit scared mid-race. He was super, super quick. So yeah, and thanks to you guys for the coverage as always.
Well, thank you very much, and hopefully we'll speak to you again very soon, Tim. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
That was Tim Delisle, and he was just absolutely flying away. A little bit pressured from the guy behind him, which Kevin is standing by with.
Yeah, I'm with Swelio Almeida. Swelio, we were looking at you earlier on with that battle with yourself and Greg Olson, a really interesting battle. I suppose you were looking at two guys in the same team, two Positive Sim Racing team guys in front of you, and you're thinking, God, this is some task ahead of me.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, oh, I want the Squire too, because I was really trying to because I saw that he was doing a lot of mistakes, and I was like, oh, this should be my chance to pass him and maybe try to fault him. But it took too long for me to actually make a pass, and it was difficult to make a pass at the straight. He was good defending, also on the straight line finish. Straight finish line wasn't proper, so I was actually waiting for him to do a mistake and try to pass in a place that was uncommon, I would say.
Yeah.
And I had to do it. I saw him doing that mistake. I saw that after locking up, he would have problems having traction. So I tried to force, and well, yeah, dangerous move, but that was the way I found to pass him and try to fault him. And I was happy to actually try to be able to follow him. His pace was insane, and I had to do like perfect lap after perfect lap to try to follow him. I even was taking off like 1/10, a little bit on the middle of the race. I thought maybe he has more camber. He's like degrading more his tires. I tried my best, but then he started being fast again.
Yeah, we had the live timing, and I think four out of the 5 laps you were faster than him at one stage, and you're really catching up. I think you're almost 2 or 3 tenths faster a lap at one stage. But just going back to that overtaking mood, you obviously went around the outside and then had that switch back. When you saw Greg locking up, like what was going through your mind at that point? Because you never want to see that tire smoke when you're side by side with another competitor.
Well, to be honest, I don't even think in words because everything happens so quick that you only think in actions. So I can't really describe what I was thinking, but it was something close to, well, yeah, this is my opportunity. I'm gonna be on the inside, and then on the next corner, he's gonna be on the outside, and I'm gonna try to do something. It's like everything happens so fast that I don't know. I was trying to trust my own experience and sort of doing the moves unconsciously in a way, because you don't really have to you don't really have time to think about what you're going to do. You just do it. So when I saw him locking up twice, I was like, at the first time, I didn't really know if I had the traction to do that, especially on a very difficult part like that. Even one car is so difficult to do those two left-handers there. So I kind of rehearsed a little bit when he did the first mistake, and then when he did the second mistake, I was like, okay, I should do it. I should do it. I should go. And after I got the pass, I was like, oh, this is gonna look beautiful at the broadcast. But
But I have
yeah,
to say,
you don't really have a lot of time to think. It's so, yeah, difficult to explain actually.
yeah, beautiful is a nice word to describe it. We really enjoy this here. Just finally on the race itself, racing the kind of new update. We've seen a lot of the players, the drivers themselves have really pushed for this. I suppose it kind of shows that there is real live feedback that you guys can provide, especially the top split guys, and that you can be a force for change to try and improve the game, improve the experience for everyone else.
You mean about the last update?
Yeah, the update for the
Oh,
new Formula 3.5, it just goes to
it's
show
like
you
a new
that
car. It's like a new car completely. It's so good. It's so good. I when I tried it, I wanted to cry. It was like, this is really good. This is really good. The reactions, they are still quick. If you mess up, you still spin like so quickly. But I don't know. It's much more intuitive now, and everything works how it should be. Even though it's dynamic, if you overheat the tires, you're still gonna have the consequences on the next corners and everything, and you have degradation. You have like everything still there, but it's predictable this time. You can really describe what's happening in theory and feel that while driving. So this is why I actually tried to do the race today, because I don't remember when I tried the car. Was like actually it was just after the update, and after that I was like in shock because it's so good that I really and I think it's actually going to increase the popularity. Many people are going to come here and drive, because this is now really really interesting to drive, really fun. The races are good, just yeah, just impressive.
and an absolute masterclass in how to drive them. Swelio, finally, is there anybody you want to thank or anybody you want to give a shout out to from the second step of the podium?
Yeah, I want to thank my team, Estrela Galicia. It's actually a Brazilian esports team. And I also want to thank my friends who are watching here, and Luciano, who was actually practicing with me this morning, and my girlfriend, Amanda. I love you. And yeah, that's it. And let's go. Maybe I think I'm actually going to race this every Saturday. I really, really had a good time here.
Well, I'm sorry, Amanda. I'm afraid he's going to be busy for the next couple of Saturdays. But Swelio, man, congratulations on a brilliant, a well deserved second place, and I'm really glad you enjoyed the new update.
Thanks.
All right, that was Swelio Melda. And now, last but not least, he finished third today, but he put up an absolute glorious battle for second, and then third, ladies and gentlemen, Greg Olson.
Hello, it's good to be back.
Yeah, welcome back, man. Where you been?
I've just been watching the races on the broadcast. It's just too much fun. So now I got a direct drive wheel at the end of last season, and I immediately hurt my wrist. So I've been waiting a few weeks. It's still really sore actually after that, but with the new tires and everything, I thought bugger it and decided to do the race. So that's where I've been. I've just been nursing a wrist injury, although so much content on the internet, it's taken a long time for it to recover.
Well, we're glad to have you back, and it's a great way to be back. Third place on your return journey in a quote new Formula 3.5 car. So you've had probably the longest off experience. How does this new update compare to the old car?
It's still a bit like the old car, although it's just a lot more grip. The biggest thing I struggled with today was the track state stuff. With the higher track state, there's less grip, and I just struggled with my braking the whole time. So that's in general, the car definitely has way more grip. I guess you could say it is a bit more progressive with the way it snaps away from you. But yeah, there's been a few little changes since the end of last season that I think that I noticed today. Like DRS didn't seem as powerful. The slipstream seemed more powerful. I was surprised when Swilio got a run on me because I was using DRS, but he still got a huge run. And yeah, but other than that, look, it feels really good. I've still been driving on and off for the last few weeks, and I was struggling at Montreal with the car snapping on me. So yeah, congratulations to iRacing, and thank you for listening to our feedback. We pushed really hard, sort of on the forums and behind the scenes, sent a lot of support tickets, and sent them lots of data and stuff like that. You know, they were very responsive, and yeah, they've really pushed the car into a great direction, I think. So I'm very happy.
All right. Well, congrats on the podium. We're glad to have you back. Hopefully, we see you next week as we return back home again to Indiana. But before we let you go, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank Positive Sim Racing, all our partners, Tim, Lubomir. They did a great job on the setup this week. Even before the patch, it was feeling pretty good. And you guys, obviously, for the broadcast, and obviously iRacing, like I said before, for patching the car, making it feel really good. Yeah, I think that's about it. It's been a while. I forget.
All right. Well, glad to have you back. But thank you everyone for joining us here on Apex Racing TV. I've been joined by Kevin Galvin, Peter McKay, Mark Barbonera up there in the broadcasting booth, and I'm Austin Knight, and I hope y'all have a good night.